Hi guys! Happy fall, y'all!
Happy fall!
It's so funny to say because growing up in Wisconsin, you don't really know the word y'all, so.
Use guys.
Yeah. But I am so excited. If you can see, we have corn behind us, so Luca and I are gonna try to see if it's ripe and harvest it, aren't we, Luca?
Can you say hi?
Hi. Oh, this is sweet. But we wanted to welcome you guys today and do a fun video on strawberries.
Growing strawberries, a how-to.
Yes. Yep. So I'm Dr. Holly, this is Sebastian, this is Luca. We're from Set Apart Health, and we have done strawberry orders with a lot of you guys, and you've been asking, how do I grow my strawberries, or what do I do with them? So we're gonna try to teach you guys today a little bit about that. But strawberries, oh, go ahead.
Oh, and a quick update about, so we are from Set Apart Health. If you don't know what Set Apart Health is, it's a chiropractic family wellness center.
Yep.
We do chiropractic, so Dr. Holly's a chiropractor, and family wellness, so we do functional medicine, labs, all that fun stuff.
Yep.
Locally here in Malden, South Carolina.
Which is by Greenville.
My Greenville area, and then we do virtual as well. But also, we have another business, which is part of the business, which is Set Apart Farm and Gardens. So this is kind of more of our, it's just
hobby?
Our whole lifestyle, really, that became, you know, work for us in a good way. It's not really work because we love it. So it's just another part of our lifestyle that we're showcasing.
Yep, because we're always out in the garden and had extra plants and sold plants, and now it's fun because it's turned into a business.
Yes.
And I'm distracted because these dahlias behind us are just
Let me see if I can show you.
Gorgeous. Like, I've never grown dahlias before, and this is a proven winner's dahlia plant, and as it got cooler, they're just like lush and gorgeous and just so happy. I just love them.
Oh yes, we got a ton of them over there, and
so fun.
So we love flowers and all that stuff, and we love farming, gardening.
Yep.
So we wanted to just kind of show you guys the process, because a lot of people have asked us from the plant sale. We had a normally we have a plant sale one time a year, and then this year, because of COVID, we ended up doing it as a pickup, the plant sale, and it just blew up more than we expected, and it was like, whoa.
Super fun, kind of like a roller coaster, but super fun.
So that's when we started the kind of the nursery side of our business and everything. So started selling plants, started doing this crazy stuff, and now we're prepping or thinking about prepping for next year. It's gonna be a little bigger.
Yep.
But anyway, so we wanted to talk about how to grow strawberries, because a lot of people were wondering what you do with the strawberries that you bought from us.
So strawberries are really hardy and pretty easy to grow. So a lot of people don't know that fall is actually the best time to plant them. You'll see them all over in spring, because that's when you pick them, that's when you think they're ready to plant. But if you plant them in fall, they actually your little bum is hard on my leg. Planting them in fall, their roots actually establish really, really well, so that you get the best strawberry plants, the best berries, the best roots in the spring and the summer. So that's super fun. That's really important. So even though it might feel like, why am I planting my strawberry plants in fall? It's the best.
It is. Yep. And you'll actually, like she mentioned, you'll find strawberry plants commercially, or you know, like available at Lowe's or other places in spring, when really what happens when you plant them in spring, they don't have enough time to develop deep, healthy roots to actually bear fruit. They will bear some, but not a big crop, not larger berries. And so the fall is a great time to really plant a lot of things. So a lot of people think you're done in fall. At least here in the south, where we're at in zone 7B, I believe.
You love to eat strawberries, don't you?
He loves strawberries.
You pick them
in 7
so well.
Zone B that we're in, it's really great to plant them in the fall, because now is a good time to plant. We are in mid-October.
So we're cleaning out a lot of our garden, a little bit some wild mess, trying to tame it and put in fall crops. So if you see wildness behind us,
yes, it's wild.
It is wild. And we do have weeds too.
And we have weeds. And we it's real life. So anyway, yes, you plant them in the fall. They have some time to get the roots developed until they, you know, they can tolerate a pretty nice frost here, at least. And then when the frost hits, it'll just wipe them out. They're fine. Don't worry about them, because the crown of the plant has enough energy in springtime to then it'll start getting some lush top growth. the roots will start establishing even more, and then you'll start seeing some fruit set. So the goal is to plant them in fall to get a spring harvest.
It's just the tomato plant on your face, Luca.
So, do you want to show them
before we
the how-tos?
We're going to show you how to plant some. There's maybe three. There's more than 3 ways probably.
Right.
But you can do it in a raised bed, which we'll show you.
Yep.
You can do it in a fabric grow pot, which
or in
we'll show you that at the
any
end.
container, really.
That can work really well. You can do it in the ground. So, you want to tell them the soil that they like?
Yes, so strawberries really prefer a loamy soil, which means it's like in between clay, in between sand kind of thing, 50-50. They like a very fertile type of soil, but strawberries are so hardy they can tolerate most any soil. So if you're working on in-ground planting, your strawberries...
That is right.
That is right.
That is This little guy, he's excited to talk.
Yeah.
So anyway, so if you fertilize your soil as well as give it some good compost, strawberries more than likely...
By fertilize, we mean not conventional fertilizer, but like organic,
like a
real
good
fertilizer.
Organic fertilizer.
Yep, that is right.
And I'm losing my train of thought because Luca's throwing me off here.
And as you do that, you can fertilize them in fall when you put them, but they're also really heavy feeders. So in spring, when they are producing their berries, they need a ton of organic compost, a ton of organic fertilizer. So that will help them. If you put them in a raised bed or a pot, you can just stick them right in. They're easy. If you do them more in the ground, you want to mound them up, kind of like lavender, like you see lavender mounded up.
Yep. So that way they get good drainage. The roots for strawberries aren't super deep. They're more wide than they are deep, but they like drainage. They don't like sitting in soggy, boggy, soil. So that's why we hill them up, meaning, kind of how you see rows. You essentially, if you're going to carve out a row, you dig straight that row and you put it in the row where you're going to plant the strawberries on either side. So you make like a 15-inch, 16-inch, maybe even 18-inch wide row that is mounded,
raised bed in the
like
ground.
A mini raised bed in the ground, and then you plant the strawberries every foot in a line, and then you can stagger in that same mound row, if that makes sense.
Do you want to talk about straw, leaves covering, any of that?
Yes, so why don't we move to our first how-to, which is the raised bed, and then that way you guys, I'm visual, so we can start showing you what they look like, etc., and then you can see it all, and I think in that'll make more sense, at least for me in my brain.
Yep.
All right, we'll show you the raised bed. Okay guys, so we got this is our raised bed here. We got a couple little roots here.
I had my basil trees in here, so they left their roots behind. Yeah,
so we're just working on, cleaning this bed up and replanting them for some fall stuff. We'll give you a little mini tour of our other raised bed that we have that we're just cleaning up. But this is what our strawberry plants look like. So those of you that bought them from us,
they're the exact same thing.
They're the exact same thing. You can see they have nice roots on them. And then right here, this is the new growth. Right here is what's called the crown of the strawberry, which is where you see the growth here.
Oh, pretty.
When you do plant them, you don't want to cover up this crown of the strawberry because it can get rot from doing that. So you want to plant to this soil level right here. So just don't bury the crown of the strawberry.
Yep.
And I'm just going to show you a couple of, kind of talk about the soil type. So right here you can see this is our raised bed soil. It's slightly crumbly, but it also holds together some. This is a mix of 50% compost and 50% peat moss. And we had a whole bunch of, I think, tomatoes and other stuff planted in it here. Now we're going to start adding more things to it. So strawberries for the fall. And strawberries are perennial. Hello. So strawberries are perennial. Come back year after year. Usually they'll last, the mother strawberry, like this one that you plant, will last about 5 years, but it'll put on a whole bunch of babies. So again, 50% organic compost is what we did. And then 50% organic peat moss. And then what we like to do, we just did this, but we added a little more compost. And we do that before every planting. So let's say, you can show right here, we just planted our, like a Swiss chard, and lettuces and things. We just planted that before after we cleaned the bed. We added a fresh thin layer, doesn't need to be but 1/2 inch, even 1/4 inch, of compost.
The big bag of trifecta. So a lot of people ask what we use. This is our favorite, trifecta from M.I. Gardner. We also use Fox Farm and blanking on the other ones, Sebastian, that we use sometimes.
Fox Farm and Garden Tone, Plant Tone, you can get those at Home Depot, they're organic. But I like it, these numbers right here are talking about the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The one in the middle is phosphorus, which for root development, that's really good, especially now in the fall. You want to get good root development. So we added some organic compost to the soil, extra, just the top layer. And then we also added some of the trifecta organic fertilizer. Biotone is also really good when you first plant something for the root development as well. And I'll show you how we do it. I'm not even going to put very much here. In terms of fertilizer, you can follow the directions of your fertilizer. Honestly, I just broadcast fertilizer for the whole bed. Sprinkle it in. And then I just work it in. You can take a little fork like this and just kind of work it in. Thanks, Luca. And then that's really all we do for fertilizer. So now I'm just going to show you spacing for strawberries. I just planted that guy real quick. I'm so used to planting quick. So right here you can see the strawberry. I'm just going to make a little hole for it. Plant that guy. And see right here what I meant? Easy that is. Don't cover up this crown right here. So just kind of when you bury it, just kind of press it in, make sure there's no air gaps, but don't bury that crown. Just leave this. Can you show us the crown again? Right here is that crown. If you get a little soil on it, it's not a big deal. But I want to show you the spacing for the strawberry. So we have one strawberry plant here. You can plant them about 8 to 12 inches apart. I like to plant them closer because next spring, I'm not really going to have any runners until after they produce. So next spring I want a lot of berries. So I'm going to plant mine closer together. Strawberries are a ground cover, so honestly you can plant them as close as you like, because by the time they produce runners and you let those runners go, you're going to have everywhere. A whole bed. Yep. Which is why we prefer to plant them in a raised bed, because you have, the walls here of the raised bed. You can show right there, you can contain them. Otherwise in the ground they'll just spread everywhere. They can be pretty invasive. Yep. So my guesstimate of 8 inches is right about here. I don't really measure, you can measure. But this is about how far apart I'm going to plant my strawberries. Yep. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, these are our strawberries that we have for the plant sale that we sold. Yep. So you're going to keep going just like this, every 8 inches apart. And then also what you're going to do, you can stagger them, just like this. So let's say I make a row of, like going straight this way. I'm going to plant them every 8 inches apart. So staggering would be putting that other one in the middle there, between those two. So if I were to, I'll show you right here. If I were to plant another plant right here, actually I'm going to need to move this guy, he's not well staggered. That way it looks like they're planted diagonally, if that makes sense. So this is how I like to plant them. I plant mine pretty close, probably closer than a lot of people, but strawberries can handle it. So if this makes sense right here, these are about 8 inches apart. So it makes like a square, essentially. And then inside that square, I'm going to plant one right here, if that makes sense. So we're just going to keep going with that. I'm going to plant them every 8 inches apart, staggering them. And then you have literally a whole raised bed full of strawberries. The watering needs that they need pretty good watering. Now in the fall, it's so cold that really they don't need a lot of water. Like every other, maybe every third day. Yep, they're going to be good because this soil, even though we cleaned up the bed, it's still actually pretty moist. We're going to water these in, and then honestly, like she said, every 3 days. And then what happens, we can show ourselves now. What happens in the winter, let me flip this. What will happen in the winter? So people were asking about winter care for these strawberries. Yep. Yep, that's right. So we pretty much plant them in the ground, and then in the winter we ignore them. That's all we do. We do like to fertilize now in fall and in spring, right when they're the tops are going to die, but then when the tops start to flush out again, when you see new growth, we do like to fertilize again at that time using the trifecta or whatever organic fertilizer you like. Yep. That way you make sure you get good sized berries, good juicy, sweet berries. And then
I love
we don't,
berries.
you do love berries. Then we really don't do much in the winter. We just let them die, let everything happen to them. We don't water them in. Come spring, that's when when they start growing again. Yep. We'll start watering because they'll go dormant. They don't need much.
And if they look brown and sad during the winter, early spring, it's okay.
You didn't kill them. Yeah. Don't worry. They are hardy.
Yeah.
You cannot screw it up.
Yeah. And there's 3 different kinds of strawberries. So if you ordered from us, they're called Monterey strawberries. There are what's called June bearing.
Yep.
Which is, you want to tell them the kinds of strawberries?
So there's 3 types of strawberries. The ones we got are day neutral varieties, but there is everbearing. I
think they're the best.
Which everbearing is kind of misleading. It makes you think like they are literally bearing forever, but they only bear twice, meaning in spring and in fall. Yep. Day neutral varieties actually do produce regardless of how long or short the days are. So they'll produce all summer long, spring through summer.
I think is the most fun.
That is the most fun. And June bearing produce one time, they give all their goods. They do produce larger berries though, but they produce around June, which is why they're called June bearing. However, they can, there's early June bearing varieties, which will produce earlier than June. There's mid-season June varieties, and there's late season June bearing varieties. So you can actually get June bearing strawberries, 3 different varieties, to spread out your harvest. Now they will all come mostly at once. So the day neutral, which are these, the Monterey is the variety that we sold for our plant sale. So you guys that bought from us your strawberries this year, they are the Monterey variety, and they produce medium to large size berries. Super sweet, super sweet.
Oh my gosh, so good,
like
tasty.
Candy.
Yeah.
So they are amazing. You'll love them.
And the more minerals they have, the better the taste.
Excuse me, Papa.
1 second, spare. So like rock dust and the organic compost and fertilizer is so crucial to give to them because that'll give them their taste.
That is one thing we didn't talk about in this planting. I don't think we have any.
I just used it all up. I have the empty bag.
But we have put rock dust. It's called rock dust.
Azomite rock dust.
Azomite brand. We have put rock dust in these beds like 2 or 3 times this year already, so we don't feel the need to add any more. That's why we didn't add any more. That's because you used it all. But really, we find the berries turn out so sweet when you add the minerals to the soil. So Azomite A to Z rock dust. Those of you locally, we have purchased it from Lotus Farm and Garden Supply, I believe. But you can also find it online. Amazon maybe has it. But you want to tell them something?
Papa, I said once you're done talking, give me a space to talk.
What would you like to say?
What do you want to say?
You'll find out once I say it.
You can say it now.
Okay. Because don't worry, your strawberries will last for a long time.
They will. We put them in the freezer too, and they last a really long time.
We'll harvest a whole bunch. You've harvested a lot of strawberries with us, haven't you?
Buckets and buckets.
Lots of buckets, and then we freeze them. We have them all year round for smoothies or any recipes.
It's wonderful. Yeah. So we want to go show them we also have a grow pot.
Yes.
Like a fabric pot that I put them into just for fun to have them different places. So we'll show
Let's show you how to grow them in containers.
Yeah.
Can I show them your pretty pumpkins?
Look at they're like
pumpkins and
actually kind of haphazard because we were at the office and we brought them. You want to show Luca's corn cob is called glass gem corn that we just picked. It's so pretty. It's a little small, but I don't know. We just tried growing corn this year, so we'll see.
Yes. And our strawberry pot.
Here is the fabric pot. As you can see, they're spilling over with their runners. So I just, I packed them in pretty tight, honestly. I don't know if you want to. Yeah, really tight.
We packed them in.
I just had like a tray or half a tray. I just wanted to get in last spring, I think, and I just put them all in here. But you can see they love it. They do really, really well. They produced all summer long in here, so which is fun because it's on our patio, and that way we just step out of the house. 1 second, okay. We just stepped out of the house and we have strawberries here too. So that shows the different ways that you can plant them.
Yes, and you can't really see the pot here. Let me, we're videoing this ourselves. You can't really see the pot, but this is one of those fabric grow pots. Some people call them Smart Pot. They come in Smart Pot brands. But you can see the grow pot itself is in perfect condition. There's not like, I don't know, any weird growth. They last forever. And the fun thing is they have handles on them so you can lift them and move them anywhere. One thing we did forget is mulching. I forgot to mention mulch. All right, our camera kind of died there, but the main thing is mulch your strawberries. We forgot to mention that. The strawberry plants, when you plant them, you want to mulch underneath with either, you could do wood chips, you could use straw, which is why they're called strawberries. The point is that when the berries are growing, you want them to not land on soil because they'll start rotting or pests will start to get to them. The number one pest we have are snails or slugs with berries. And all we do is before the fruit starts to ripen, we'll make beer traps.
They work so good.
They work perfect. I mean, just great. All you do is you take a tuna can or some sort of shallow can and you pour beer in it, any kind of beer, and then you place it in the soil. So you can even place it in this grow bag.
Yeah, we just placed them throughout our rows.
Yep. And when you place it in there, the slugs love the yeast and that smell. They'll go to there and then they'll drown in the cans and they won't bother your berries.
So we didn't have hardly any slugs on ours, I think, even when it rained, like the rain.
Yes, especially right when it rains or after it rains.
Yep.
You'll tend to see a lot of slugs out there. So really that's the biggest issue we've had. If some people have issues with birds, I've heard that you can actually paint a rock, like a smooth rock, paint it red and put little white dots on it to make it look like a strawberry. And they'll peck that rock and think, oh, that's hard, and then they just won't bother it. I've not tried it myself, but I've heard that it's worth.
I think our camera shut off a couple times. So, try again. We wanted to show you here, Sebastian showed me that the plants, the runners actually rooted into the patio, which is crazy.
Look at that.
So they found ground and they actually rooted in. So those are the runners.
I'll show you this here. Yeah, these are the runners. So they run away from the mother.
And then they make a new plant.
And then these are, you can actually put this in soil now in the fall. You can see here it makes like a long string and then it shoots out another little plant. And this plant, wherever it touches soil right there, I don't know if this will focus, right here in the bottom, this is called the crown again, wherever this crown touches soil, it will root and create a whole other plant. So all you do is, if you want to propagate your strawberries,
super easy to do.
Super easy. Just take this runner, put it in a little pot. It'll make roots. And then you cut off this rope right here. You cut them off from the mother. And then you have a whole other plant. You could even cut it off. They root so easy. But see right here, this is rooted already. So this can be cut off from the mother and the whole plant will be happy on its own. Yep. All these are runners produced this year. Yep. So all these are new plants that you
trailed off.
Trailed off. So this was this year's growth.
Not big, it's huge.
And it made a ton of berries.
Huge.
So you want to talk about?
And they started as the little ones.
Yeah, the same size that we showed you, the Monterey variety. Do you want to talk about the spacing, how you space it here?
I crammed them in. I literally had a tray, I think, that I just wanted to get in, so they look like they're about that.
They're not even 3 or 4 inches apart, and they're doing great. You don't have to get that crazy.
You don't.
You could go about every 6 to 8 inches. I would suggest to go closer in a container. That way you get more. But also, with that said, your soil has to be really well fed. It has to be fertilized and watered more frequently, because the drainage, you lose a lot of those nutrients quicker than you do in a raised bed.
Right, exactly.
So I recommend that.
Yep.
And then, let's see, the other thing is we were talking about mulching. Yes. I'm not sure if you heard that part. Just make sure to, when you plant, to mulch with straw or bark or wood chips. That way the berries aren't sitting on the soil. And then I think that is it.
So we hope this was super helpful and got you inspired to plant your strawberries if you haven't already, or get strawberries. We, I think, have a few left. If you guys
we might have a few left if you guys are interested, locally here in Fountain Inn, Greenville, South Carolina area.
But we hope that was so fun and so helpful. We absolutely love growing our own strawberries. We just want to make this huge field, so it's so good. So happy strawberrying. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the next one. Bye. P.S. We wanted to say something. So some people say during the spring to take off a couple things. So one is the flowers, and it'll help root the strawberries more the first year and sacrifice your berries. So we did try that one year. I don't know, did you think it was worth it?
It was not worth it to me because we didn't have any fruit production because we got rid of the flowers to make the roots you know, focus on the roots. So that's why it's best to just plant in the fall and then you can harvest in spring.
Yeah, so you could do that, but I think you can just go ahead and eat them the first year.
And then the other thing is, though, the first year, after they produce the berries and then they start making the runners, I do suggest to take the runners off, to cut them off. That I do suggest because when you do that, your plant will focus more on root development. So then the following year, you'll get a way big, good, healthy harvest. Otherwise, it puts a lot of energy into the runners.
Right.
So if you want a really good established plant before it starts making babies, I suggest to cut off all the runners the first year. You know, don't even let them make them, or try not to.
Yep.
You'll start seeing the runners when you see those, like these strings here, come off of the plant.
Yep.
Like that, you know, you'll start seeing them. When you see them, just literally cut them off. So this whole plant needs a trim.
You could just give it a bowl haircut.
Give it a bowl cut. But don't let them get this big. It produced runners, and you know.
Yeah, I just didn't get to it.
We didn't get to it, and this is not super, this is more of a fun project and a test project for us than it was our berry harvest.
Production, yeah.
So, that is all.
All right, bye.
Bye.